Right now, when you're watching this video, you should probably do something else. Perhaps this is a project that should be presented tomorrow. It's probably an email that you haven't received in 3 days. Or what you promised yourself to starting next Monday. And here's the amazing thing, your brain knows exactly what you're doing. He sees that the deadline is approaching. He feels his anxiety growing. And yet, instead, he chooses this video. But what if procrastination isn't about laziness? Not a time management problem. What if you've been fighting the wrong enemy all this time? Recently, scientists have discovered something shocking, which changes everything we knew about procrastination, and the reason why you can't stop. Much more disturbing than you might think. Procrastination equals emotional escape. Dr. Tim Pychal has spent 20 years studying procrastination, and what he found refutes all assumptions. It's not about complexity, not in time, not even at work. It's about emotions. That's what's going on in your brain. When you think about a task, the amygdala lights up like a Christmas tree. It recognizes the threat, an emotional threat, incompetence, anxiety, boredom, and certainty. The amygdala does not distinguish between a presentation failure and a tiger. A threat is a threat, and the brain triggers an escape reaction. The fastest escape, literally everything else, and the brain instantly feels relieved. This is called mood recovery. You are avoiding non-work. You avoid feeling it, and it works. That's why it's so hard to stop. But then the story gets darker. Procrastination as a dopamine trap. There is another component to this mechanism that almost no one talks about. Do you remember the relief when you choose Netflix instead of a deadline? The moment when the anxiety subsides and you can finally relax. Your brain produces dopamine. The same substance is involved in the formation of any addiction. Dr. Fuskia Sarwar from the University of Sheffield discovered something frightening during her research. Chronic procrastinators have patterns similar to impulse control disorders. They don't just avoid bad feelings. They're chasing a dopamine charge. Relief itself becomes a reward, and the brain begins to build more and more effective ways. Every time you procrastinate, you train your brain. Task equals bad. Avoidance equals good. You are literally rebuilding your neural pathways. That's why it only gets worse over time. That's why you put off what's really important to you. That's why it feels like you're losing control. But there is something even more insidious, and scientists have only recently learned this. In 2019, neuroscientists observed the brain in real time when a person is slow. They found something that no one expected. Procrastinators have a larger amygdala, physically bigger, and the connection with the zone responsible for action control is weaker. But what was the first one? The more you delay, the stronger these changes become. You are changing the architecture of your brain. And there is a third player who complicates everything, your idea of yourself in the future. Hal Hirschfield scanned the brain when people thought about themselves 10 years later. The brain activates the same areas as when thinking about a stranger. Not close, not native, stranger. When is the deadline next week? You don't think, I'm going to suffer, but someone else will. You are getting relief now. The stranger gets the consequences. Suddenly it makes sense. You are not irrational. You are logical for such a brain. And this explains why simple tips don't work. But there is something that almost no one talks about. And this is where the research gets really sad. Chronic procrastinators are more likely to experience stress, anxiety, and depression. Physical health is deteriorating. They're delaying treatment. They earn less. They lose their relationship. It's not because they're lazy. It's because they're trapped in a circle that seems unbreakable. And the worst part is that they know it. Every procrastinator knows that they are hurting themselves. And this knowledge only makes the situation worse. Now you are not fighting with one emotion, but with two. And what does the brain do? He's looking for relief again. You are caught in a loop of doom. Just take care of yourself. Be disciplined. The problem is that you're in a neurological trap. And she gets stronger every time. Research also shows something encouraging. Do you remember how the brain perceives you as a stranger in the future? Researchers have found a way to fix this. People were shown realistic images of what they would look like in 30 years. They were asked to make financial decisions. People started saving more money because the stranger became familiar. This also works with procrastination. The most effective is just start, but not in the way you think. Not all, the minimum. Open the document, 1 sentence, 1 paragraph, 2 minutes. Why does it work? Waiting is scarier than the task itself. When you start, the anxiety subsides. The brain understands that there is no threat, but there is a method that works even better, and it's based on how dopamine actually works. Stanford neuroscientist Andrew Huberman explains, dopamine is not a reward. When you delay a task, you borrow dopamine and waste it on distraction, but it can be changed. This method is called temptation binding. You combine what you avoid with what you love. My favorite podcast is only during boring work. My favorite coffee is only during focus sessions. The brain begins to associate work with reward. Dopamine goes towards the task, not away from it. And that's what changes everything. You don't need motivation to get started. You need to get started to get motivated. Waiting for desire never works. Feeling comes from action. So, I want you to understand. If you're watching this video instead of doing something else, you're fine. Your brain is not damaged. It works the way evolution created it. It protects you from perceived threats, seeking immediate relief and survival. It is optimized for a world where tomorrow might not come. But now you know what's really going on. It's not about laziness, and it's not about discipline. It's a transition from I'm broken to I understand. And this is where changes become possible. Not through pressure, through understanding. The task is still ahead of you. But now, perhaps, you will approach it in a different way. And maybe you'll be indulgent with yourself while you do it. You are not your enemy. You're just a human being.